If you are hiding from the camera, you are hiding from opportunities. You are hiding from clients. And so it's important to just say, that's how I look. I've made it this far in life. It's okay. And that's my voice. You know what? It's fine. No one runs away screaming when you talk. Like, it's fine.
What if the biggest thing standing between you and the camera isn't skill? It's the story you're telling yourself about who gets to be seen. Welcome to Big Moves AI. I'm your host, Simone Leah. And in today's session, I sat down with Kim Rittberg, who's a 6-time award-winning video coach and former media executive at Netflix and People magazine, who has spent 2 decades helping people to show up on camera with clarity and confidence. We get into the mindset shift that unlocks real on-camera presence, her patch method for preparing your mind and body before you ever hit record, and why being more you is actually the sharpest competitive edge you have in a world flooded with AI-generated content. This session is full of practical tools and honest perspective you want to hear all the way through. So stay with us until the end. Where do we even start with getting on camera?
So the very first place we need to start is with the mindset piece. So I like to think of it as sort of a triangle, and mindset, skill set, and repetition. So what does that mean? I've basically never met a person who hasn't come to me and said they want to be on camera and then been like, do you notice this? Do you notice this too? And really, we are all so in our heads and thinking that everyone is noticing us and like judging us. So I think the very first thing is this mindset shift. So we start out in what I like to call supermodel mode. Yes, you're beautiful, but by supermodel mode, I mean, we think everyone's looking at us and that we're on this big runway and everyone's judging us. We have to shift into teacher mode, where we're really just thinking about the lesson we are imparting. And how is that audience getting it? Are they learning something? So the big shift from supermodel mode to teacher mode is the very first step to really unlock your confidence on camera.
I love this. Yeah, that's amazing. How do we even start to build that sort of confidence? Because I know, like, when I talk to people who have never been on camera before, as you said, their fear is, what if, like, you know, I don't like to wear makeup, or I don't really want to like have to get my hair dyed all the time, or I don't have a wardrobe for it. Like, how do we actually start building that muscle?
So I like to think of it as motivation and fear kind of being on opposite sides of the spectrum. So if you want to be on camera, or not even on camera, honestly, if you want to build your communication skills, that could be to be better in meetings, right? You want to present yourself as a leader to your boss. You want to get a promotion or a raise. You want to be better on camera, whether that's regular video or social media. You want to be speaking on a stage, right? Without fainting or turning black, like blacking out. That's what we're talking about building those skills. And to build the confidence piece of it, we have to have motivation. Fear is very strong. I think fear of public speaking is like the number one fear, more than spiders or snakes, which I think is a little crazy. I'm very afraid of tarantulas and snakes, but that fear is very powerful. So to overcome that fear, you have to have really, really strong motivation. So it's like a scale. Your motivation, your desire needs to outweigh fear. So if you're trying to put yourself out there on camera and every time you hold up your camera, you freeze, you have to just start with the beginning. Why do you want to be out there? How important is it to you? And then you have to shift into that supermodel mode over teacher mode. You have to shift into teacher mode and forget about all the negative voices. But as a part of this motivation and as a part of breaking through the fear, you have to dig deeper. You have to say, what am I afraid of? A lot of people are afraid of being judged by their peers. A lot of people are afraid of failure, right? You're going to put yourself out there and it's not going to be good and you're going to feel embarrassed. So it's very important to kind of dig a little bit more, like open the hood and say, what is really holding me back? Because until you answer that question, it's hard to move into the next stage.
Yeah. I love this because here I was thinking you're going to more come in with the practical stuff, but you came in with the inner work stuff, which I really love, and learning and having that self-awareness of what is it that I'm actually afraid of, I think is huge. Because a lot of the times, as I said, when I talk to people, they're literally just afraid of like being seen without makeup. And it's like, well, why don't, like, if that's all you're afraid of, not to be offensive or downplay your fear, but why don't you just put out a video without you wearing makeup, and then it's done, and you can keep moving on with your life, and you can actually move towards your mission. And like, you want to be on camera for a reason, you can actually run towards that reason if you just remove that block of not wanting to be seen without makeup. So I love that that's part of what you're saying, is actually having that real conversation with yourself.
Well, I worked in media for like 20 years. I was a TV producer. I wrote and produced stories for national news and lifestyle. And I would really prepare all of these people, like hundreds, I don't know, thousands of people to be on camera. And when I launched my own business, I started having people come to me and they wanted me to train them to be on camera. But one thing I kept seeing is I'd be like, okay, here's how to breathe, here's how to stand, here's how to move your voice. But when I would take out the camera, they would freeze. And I was like, oh, there's something going on here, right? I thought I'm just going to teach people skills. Like, I truly was like, let's do the skills. Let's get on the camera. Here's your light. Here's your camera. And I started to see how much the mindset piece, we have to work on that mindset piece to even get to the place where we can work on modulating our voice, how to stand, variation on our voice, making better videos, or just being a better speaker. You can't even get there if you're still in your head about, I don't look good, I'm too big, I'm too small, I'm too old, I'm too young. I've heard everything. So until you kind of really shift through that, you can't even get to the skills part, but we will get to the skills. But I do think it's very, very important, if you're committed to the concept of being on video, you want to be on video, but you haven't been making videos, like, drop me a note. I'll send you some downloads on what we can work through. But it's really, really important to say, I have to work through this, because if you have a goal you're wanting to hit and there's something blocking you, figure out what's blocking you, right? Dig into the real fear piece and then shift forward, and we can work on the skills.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think it's also important to note that it might not shift in one session. Like, it's one of those things where, like, if you have that fear of, being on camera or whatever, it might take a little bit of time. Like, I remember when I started my first podcast, and I did so many episodes in a row, like not in a row, but in the same like 2-week period, I filmed like 5 or 6 episodes. And by the end of that, I was fine. So then I had like 3 weeks off from filming, and then I went back to film again, and I was like, oh no, now I'm afraid again. Like, what if people don't like it? Or what if people don't like me? So like, it is a practice and a repetition thing. And so what can we do to put ourselves in the best mindset position to be able to move through that consistently and keep moving forward?
Sure. So I have a framework on like how can you be actually better on camera. I think the important thing about repetition and consistency is just that. No one's gone to the gym once and come home with a 6-pack. So understanding that the first bunch of videos, the third video, the fifth video, the 10th video, you're not going to like them very much. And that's okay. That is the process. I know it is hard. I have 2 little kids. It is hard to be a beginner at something. It's hard for kids to be a beginner. It's even harder for adults to be beginners, but we have to go in with that beginner mindset, right? We can't get better. We can get better on camera until we start out where we are. No one's good at first. And it's important to say, I'm going to commit to doing this. I recommend, when someone's really trying to build their skills, at least 3 times a week practicing. And that means recording into your phone, recording onto your laptop, speaking in on a stage, doing some sort of communication skills that's a little out of your comfort zone. That repetition and that consistency, that is what's going to really drive it home and actually build the skills.
I love that. I love that you're like, just do it 3 times a week and you'll get that. That's so practical. I was just like, I'm just going to keep going, and eventually one day it won't be painful anymore.
Eventually it won't. It won't.
Yeah, but yours is just way more practical. It's like, all right, just commit to 3 times a week and it'll be fine. Whereas I was like, how long? It could be like 2 months or whatever. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that, because that's super, super practical. Do you find that there's a difference between going on and filming something like a YouTube channel as opposed to filming something like a reel with your phone? Do people have different kind of things there, and how can you combat that?
I think the basis of preparing, I think there's 2 things that people should think about. One is how you deliver your messages and how you're actually delivering your personality, your message on camera. That's one piece of it. And then the other is like the actual format and technical of it, right? So if you think about YouTube is sort of a longer format, if you're creating a longer video and then a shorter video, it's like more punchy. you're still delivering your own authenticity, whatever. You're still always trying to be the most you that there is for each video. There are slight differences in terms of like, the hook, right? You always want the hook of the video to be exciting, enticing, a little high energy. So that's kind of the same throughout. But of course, a 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute video on YouTube is going to feel a little different than your 60-second reel, which maybe you're cutting up and maybe you're spicing it up. Maybe it's a little high energy, but it's always really trying to be you.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, okay. So it's not going to be too much of a challenge in terms of swapping what you're doing. So that's really, really great. So what are some of the practical things that we can learn and do if we're just committed to the cause? We're going to practice 3 times a week. What are the practical things we can do to really help us to shine and show up on camera?
I love this question. So I'm bringing in my patch framework. I don't know if you can see that on the screen share. Yes, you can see it on the screen share. So the patch framework is what I teach clients, students. This is really how to get yourself ready for camera. So this is 2 things. So this is one is a week from now, 3 weeks from now, you're going to start filming content. You're going to go on a stage. You're going to be interviewed on a podcast. This is how you prepare in advance of that opportunity. So the first P is for preparation. That has a component of the mindset preparation, right? Like you should be on camera. And then it also has the content. What are you saying? It's very hard to be great on camera if you're not prepared. That means preparing actually your bullet points of what you're going to say, or if you're reading a script, have that ready. Okay. The next one is A is for authenticity. I think I have a video earlier in this deck, but I'm not sharing it. My very first time on camera when I was a local news reporter, I was like, hello, this is Kim Rittberg for Files One News. And I just wasn't very myself. I just was not authentic. I was trying to be someone else. And so when you're showing up on camera, your job is to be the most you, the most you version of you in that video. It's not to be that influencer. It's not to be that anchor. It's not to be your professor. So your weekly goal is to be incredible, charming, very, very like the people who know you the best should say, oh, that's you. So like I've had a time when I've been on a podcast, I've been a guest on a podcast. Someone reached out to me on social media and we got on a call and they said, oh, you're exactly like you've seen in that podcast. That's a huge compliment. And that's what you want, right? You want people to see you on a stage as a guest on a podcast, presenting in a seminar as exactly the person that you are in your everyday life, maybe a little more confident, maybe a little more polished, but you really want to be that same person. And that's what we're talking about. Okay, so now we're at T. T is for tranquility. You gotta put that to-do list down. You gotta turn down those like Notion, Asana, whatever, those boards, like everything goes to the side. You need to be in the moment. You need to actually be in the moment, focus on recording, to bring your energy, stay focused. The cat food, we'll get that later. The toilet paper, don't worry. Control. And I'm going to talk about this in just a minute. You're laughing at the kitty litter and the toilet paper. That's good. The C is for control. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to do this, but you will feel nerves, and that is normal. That's your body responding biologically to a new stimulus. You have to override that biologically. I will explain how to do that next. And then H, the last thing is happy. You have to think of something exciting, something fun. And right before you're recording, you get your Beyonce music, you drop a little Britney, whatever. Raise that energy. People should feel like, ooh, I'm really excited to be talking with you, hearing from you, right? Like it should be that the person listening to you sees your joy, sees your passion, hears it. And you have to do that by practicing. So that's patch, preparation, authenticity, tranquility, control, and happy. And now I'm going to go into right before, I'll just go into this quickly. When we're talking about controlling your biology, when you get on a stage, you get on a video, what happens? Maybe you get a little sweaty, palms a little sweaty, maybe you're sweating in your armpits, maybe your heart's beating fast, dry mouth. That's because your body thinks there's a lion, right? It's a new stimulus. It's scary. We are going to turn the lion into a kitty by using science-backed methods to calm our body down. It is very important to take this seriously because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I should meditate. Like, oh, I should breathe. I'm like, I teach this to CEOs going on TV. I use this before my keynote speeches. This is exactly what I use. So this is kind of like a cheat sheet, right? Soothe, stretch, smile. So first, and it's not necessarily in this order, but these are the 3 things you have to be doing. So soothe, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, calming your body down. Stretch. We want to be stretching your body, right? We want to be loosening up. We want to smile. We want to feel so good. We want to be a big smile right before we go on camera, because people are going to hear that and they're going to feel that on camera, on stage, anywhere. So when we say smile, also, one of the things I like to say is pick something that you enjoy. So it could be a tongue twister. If you're with another person, you could do an improv game. All of those things that like actors and singers will use to warm up their mouth. You want to be warming up your mouth, but you also like warming up your brain, warming up your funny bone. Because if you're feeling good and you're excited and you're bringing that high energy, that is contagious. Your audience is going to feel that. The audience, the live audience, the podcast audience, the video, the people in the meeting, everyone is going to feel that.
I love this. These are amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love all of this. I actually have a singing and dancing background. So some of these things I just threw out of habit. So I love that that's what the actual pros are doing, like the actual, people who are getting on stage all the time,
Right.
who aren't necessarily singing and dancing backgrounds, are also thinking like, okay, I need to walk myself up, but I need to like have a bit of a stretch and move my body. So I love this because it's so, so practical. One thing I will go back to with the authenticity is obviously like everybody has different versions of themselves, right? So they have like the super happy version, right? But then also some people might just be serious people. So what would you say if someone's like, I don't really have like a, vibrant personality? How can they still shine on camera if they're not in a bad way, but if they're just a bit more of a muted person?
Oh, I love that question. You're always trying to be the most you that you are. So what does that mean? I have plenty of introverts I work with, introverts, extroverts. It doesn't matter where you exist in terms of high energy or low energy. But when you come and you record a video, or if you're on a stage, you want to still have warmth, right? So even someone who's serious doesn't need to make a joke, but even a serious person can have a soft smile. Even a serious person can inject warmth into their voice. So it's not necessarily about like turning it on, turning it up. Like it's not really about that. But I do think when you're going on camera or going on a stage, you want to be a little bigger. And for a video, that might mean 20% bigger. For a stage, that might mean 30% bigger. You have to kind of meet the room. It's not about changing your personality, but it is about filling up the space. So if I'm talking to you conversationally, chatting, that's probably maybe not the tone I'm going to have at a keynote speech where I'm speaking to 500 people. I'm probably bringing a bit more energy because I need to raise their energy. I need them on board with me. But I'm not showing up as a game show host, right? So it's really about raising the energy level. I think of it as like a line, and we all fall a little bit below the line. And we should also remember that a video actually pulls energy from us. Something about talking to an inanimate object, it actually pulls energy out of us. And so you have to raise your energy and inject that energy back in. So that's something to consider, whether you're high energy, low energy, introvert, extrovert. It's really about thinking about that aspect of it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I actually didn't know that about the video. So that's super, super cool to know. And yeah, when you were saying that, I remember being told something years and years ago, more about projecting your voice, right? But there's, and it's kind of like saying you wouldn't get on stage and just speak so that only the first row or 2 rows can hear you, right? You'd speak so that 10 rows back, they can hear you. And it's not about necessarily being louder, because obviously we have microphones now, but it's about projecting that energy so that in the back they can actually feel you. So I kind of feel like when you were saying that, I was like, oh, you're okay. So it's actually less about really dialing up and being over the top, and more about actually making it so the audience can feel you in wherever setting that you're actually in. Would that be more of a correct, have I got that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think what you're saying, yes, is calibrating yourself to the room. And it's in the same that if you're having a meeting with 7 people, you're not going to be the same like size as you would be on a stage, right? You're not going to speak in the same way to 7 people as you would to 500. And that's normal. But it also doesn't mean you're going to be a different person. You're not going to show up as a different person for 7 people versus 500, but you're going to kind of turn it up in a different way. It's the same for people who are more serious or more introverted. You don't need to be different. It's actually, remember, people love you for who you are, right? You've already gotten this far being who you are. So now it's definitely not the time to turn away from that. And I would challenge people to also think about the people you listen to, podcasts, social media, people you read. A lot of them, it's like the rainbow of personality types, right? So we don't have to be a different type of person, but we do have to be confident, passionate, clear, right? There are certain elements that you do have to bring when you're showing up. And specifically when we're talking about video, I always like to say there's like the C's that I make sure people bring to video. And one of them is confident. Another one is clear. So you should always make sure you're being clear. So that's agnostic of personality type. But what you really, really, really want to make sure is, am I showing up with passion? Does everyone in this room, everyone in this video see that I love this topic? Because if you don't love that topic, they're not going to love that topic. And what is the most confident version of you? Doesn't matter if you're an introvert, an extrovert, high energy, low energy, the most confident, passionate version of you.
Okay, I love this. And I think there's clues in that as well. Like if you're getting up and you're not super passionate about it, maybe it's not what you should be sharing on camera. So I love that you're like, a little bit of a clue here. So that's amazing. So what happens if we get on camera and we just lose it? Like we're just stuttering and we just can't get ourselves back. And like, I guess obviously in these days, you just would stop the video and start again. But if someone's actually in it, is there anything they can do to kind of try and calm themselves down to continue?
Yeah, I love that question. First of all, if you're on video, remember it's not live, right? I have all these people, I work with clients around the country, around the world, and they're like, oh, I feel nervous. I can't remember. You don't have to remember it, right? You're not on live news. Like it's not a live video. So if you're recording something and you need to regroup, just pause it, kind of do the S's again, soothe, stretch, smile, get back into it. And one thing I always recommend is use a sticky note and just put bullets of what you're going to say. So you're not going to forget it because you're going to have it right there. And if you're in a live situation, I still think you should bring the sticky notes. Have some bullet points that bring you back. When my clients do keynotes, we always have them bring some notes for the stage. They don't necessarily need the notes, but they're there just in case.
Yeah, I love that. That was one thing when I first started going from singing to not singing, like acting and things like that. And I was like, how do people remember the words without the music to guide them? So yeah, totally agree with that. Like having sticky notes or something to pull you back to the direction you're supposed to be in is amazing. I would also love to ask as well, like you're so animated, like you use your hands for things, you're like demonstrating things. Is like, how much of that is like good or bad? Like I do feel like I sit very still when I present. What's your sort of recommendation on movement and animation?
It's funny you ask that. I just did a video on what should you do with your hands when you're on video. The truth is I am animated. And when I first started showing up on video, I was thinking, oh, I'm so animated. Like I need to tone it down. And now I realize, no. Like that's actually who I am. And you basically, what they say, your vibe attracts your tribe. Be you. And so if you sit still or you use your hands, that's how you should be. There are certain ways. So for people who use hands, you kind of want to keep it in a certain frame. So a lot of times you'll see, I'm going to stand up to give this example, but a lot of times you'll see like a reporter going like this. They're like holding their hands together. So that's a way where they can use their hands to express sounds, but it's not like flying all over the place. But I'm animated and I am animated. Of course, that means I can control, not within reason. I can control my face and my voice within reason, but I know what I'm talking about. So my animation, I think, is aligned with who I am as a person and it makes sense. So I have a lot of clients who are like more staid and other ones who are more animated and more energetic. The most important thing is you kind of know your material. You're practicing your material. And when you're delivering it, for video, mostly we're talking about for video, but for stages and seminars and podcasts, you are able to really be yourself. It's almost, the material well, not word for word, but broadly. You'd be practicing it, right? You're practicing what you say. It feels good. It can roll up your tongue. So if you're using your hands, use your hands. Over time, you will realize like you're not doing this. And instead you're kind of doing using your hands, but in a smaller way. Eyeline, right? You always kind of want to maintain that eye line with the lens. So you can see, right? My eye line's there. I know the camera's there. I can see a green light. So I'm either aiming to look at the green light or I'm looking at you. So again, things like that, where we're aware of where the camera is, we're aware of our own energy, and also we're okay with it, right? I said at the beginning of this interview, we shift out of supermodel mode and we step into teacher mode. Everybody hates their own voice. It feels weird when they first start seeing themselves on camera. That's okay. It's fine. Just move past it. Because if you are hiding from the camera, you are hiding from opportunities. You are hiding from clients. And so it's important to just say, that's how I look. I've made it this far in life. It's okay. And that's my voice. You know what? It's fine. No one runs away screaming when you talk. Like, it's fine. So I think that we really need to work on that confidence. We need to really escape supermodel mode and say, okay, this is how I am. How do I become the more polished version of this? But not, I hate this thing I do. How do I stop it?
Yeah, I love this. But I actually love how animated you are because it is actually making me connect with you more. So is that something we can kind of learn? Like, are there things that we should be trying to learn and do? Because when you're talking and you're so animated and vibrant, you're moving your arms around, I'm more engaged with you. So like I'm like, man, I need to stop being so serious all the time when I'm filming, right? So like, is there certain skills that we can learn to practice, whether it would be movement, whether it would be facial expressions, whether it would be our voice, our tone, our language? Are there certain skills that we can learn to make us shine more on camera?
Sure. So in the 3 S's I put earlier, soothe, stretch, and smile. So as we're smiling and we're raising our energy with music and stuff, I want you to get really into it. Like, do those improv exercises where we're like jumping around, right? You're like pretending to throw a ball, like do tongue twisters, raise your energy. Like that does raise your energy. I think a really big part of remembering how you speak is we are bored of our own voice. We are bored of our own voice. So people I work with a lot of clients on their elevator pitch. A lot of them are like, my name is Jane and I'm an accountant. I'm like, well, Jane, that doesn't sound like you love accounting, right? Doesn't make me want to work with you. So you have to remember that the things you're saying are brand new to someone else. And if you're not excited to talk about them, pick a different topic, but also inject like everything you're saying, you should think about it is the first time someone's learning it. Sometimes we are bored of something because we feel like we've said it 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. I already talked about that. I already told that client, well, that client is not in this room. That seminar was last week. This is a whole different audience. So I think one thing to really, really keep in mind is if you don't sound like you're excited about something, your audience is not going to be excited about it. And that does not mean like putting it on and being fake, but you have to actually talk about something as if that person has never heard about it before. And that is going to bring in the right amount of like, hey, I'm actually teaching you this. And you have to raise your energy and you have to bring your passion. If you don't want to talk about this and you are bored with the topic, pick a different topic.
I love this. This is so good. Yeah. Okay. I think sometimes when we do get into the habit of, okay, we're just going to batch our content once a month or whatever it is, whatever your schedule is. And you're just like, yeah, this is just that thing I do. And you kind of forget like this is just a little side note gratitude piece, but you kind of forget how blessed you are to be able to even record content and have a platform in the first place. But the second thing is exactly what you said. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to record 10 reels today. So, I'm just going to go through the motions and do my reels and I've got my topic already. And, and like now with you saying that, I'm like, you know what? Like I actually need to be really not that I'm not present doing it, but I need to actually be present in really doing that because like maybe it is a new follower who sees that video who hasn't heard me talk about that topic a million times. Like I can't just go through the motions and expect to be shining,
Yeah.
So this is amazing.
And one thing, I have a lot of people come to me and I think sometimes when people go on and record a video and they seem low energy or not excited about it, it's a little bit of imposter syndrome popping in. They start thinking, well, who am I to share this? Or who doesn't already know this? Think about the person who doesn't already know this. right? So don't say, is this the newest bit of information for anyone ever to ever learn? You're thinking about the person I'm aiming for, whether that's a client, a follower, whoever you're speaking to directly, that person is learning something from you. So a lot of times we put this pressure on ourselves to be this expert and we feel like we're not good enough, or we're not expert enough. And I hear that. I can actually hear that when a client sends me a video. I'm like, this is interesting. This will be interesting to your audience. You don't sound like you're interested by it. So sometimes I see it's imposter syndrome, or we're in the kind of autopilot mode, like you just mentioned, of batch recording. But it doesn't matter if you're recording 10 reels. If you're recording 10 things in a row, between each video, pause, do the breathing, play a little music, raise your energy. If you're not interested in your content, your audience will not be.
Yeah. I love this. And I think as well, like there's this real thing at the moment where people are creating a lot of content using AI, and they're just like batch putting out so much content these days. And it's one of those things where now that I'm talking to you and I'm thinking about it, it really hammers home that quality over quantity thing. Like if you could put out 10 reels a month where you're actually vibrant, where you're actually glowing, where you're actually energetically connecting with the audience because you're passionate about what you do, that is actually going to have so much more of a bigger effect than if you put out 30 where you're just not even switched on for any of them. So like this is really helpful. Like it's really just hammering home that thing of just slow down, breathe, be present, get into what you're actually doing. Like I can feel that I'm more animated as we're going along, which, you know, I think it's just because, you know, I'm matching you a little bit here, which is super fun for me. But yeah, like having that time and allowing yourself to be like, yeah, I'm in this moment. I get to record. This is awesome. I'm recording something I'm passionate about. Let's actually get that through instead of just autopiling it, because I do think that's going to have a much bigger result.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So what else do we need to know? If we were someone who's like, all right, I'm going to do this YouTube thing, but I'm kind of a little bit nervous about it. I'm not the greatest at like public speaking. What else do we need to know? Should we be reading a script for a YouTube channel, or should we be like practicing it 2 or 3 times before we record? Or what sort of tips do you have?
Sure. So I'm not, unless you have to stick to a script, unless you're great at prompter, I think going with bullet points is better than prompter. Obviously, if a very long video, or, you know, it's an area you need to hit certain points, right? Sometimes a coach is selling a certain details about their program, or a CEO needs to have certain information, or something has to you have a disclaimer, go with the script. But if you're going to use a script, make sure you're practicing your prompter reads. You have to practice a lot to inject your own energy and not sound like a robot when you're reading it. I think for short form content, I almost always recommend jotting bullet 1, bullet 2, and maybe bullet 3, putting it on your phone or on your screen so that that's your guide, because you're going to be able to be more natural. You're going to be able to have a better energy and stay on target still with those bullet points. Like it's conversationally, right? If you tell me to memorize a script, it's going to take me like 10 minutes. If you tell me, Kim, what's your SSS framework? I'll be like, oh, boom, boom, boom. It's hard to memorize, right? It's hard to like say exactly what you're talking about, but knowing those 3 bullet points, I do recommend saying it out loud. If your voice doesn't like it, you know, this is a muscle. So you have to have muscle memory. If you're using a word you don't like, I used to write scripts for a TV anchor and she'd say, I can't say that word. It doesn't sound good for me. Great. Use a different word. So make sure you feel comfortable with those words. Like sometimes I say the word entrepreneur. I'm like, that's such a hard word to say, entrepreneur. And everybody should just say founder, right? And so I think it's just about making the script feel natural to yourself. A couple of the other things when you're reading. So for those of you who are, if you're selling a business or a brand, like owning your name, owning your brand, like not eating the words of your name. So I'm not gonna say I'm Kim Rittberg. I'm gonna say I'm Kim Rittberg, right? So you can remember my name. But I do think prompter versus bullet points is a really big factor. If you're doing short form, I definitely recommend bullet points. And if you are really committed to using prompter, practice doing prompter.
Yeah. I think for me, thank you for sharing those. One of the traps that I fall into, and I think it's just, you know, from when you're growing up and you see newsreaders, right, is that if I'm reading a teleprompter, I'm a great reader, so I sound super professional. but professional and authentic can be two different things, you know? So for me, I'm like, I can't read scripts. I just can't do it because I sound great, but I also sound like I'm really trying to sell something and my tone stays very the same and I'm all newsreadery and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I definitely think it's something to watch out for is the personality you put on if you are reading a script and making sure that it is actually your own and not just, you know, you actually kind of having that like used car salesman sort of sound. So yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. I love that. And I also love that you're like, just use like bullet points. Bullet points are the key because yeah, that's definitely right up my alley. And I think it takes that pressure off as well. If you're not one like, you know, to sit there and learn scripts, it does take a lot of time. So for everybody who is at home, it's nice to know, okay, we don't have to memorize the whole script. We can just dot point it and wing it because we know our stuff, right? So I literally love that. We haven't actually talked about voice at all. What should we be doing with our tone when we're speaking?
When we are speaking, it really is a matter of not being in autopilot mode. So we have a thing called reading voice. So if you were going to tell me like, okay, take out this book and read to your kids or read to this classroom of people, or it flattens our tone. So when we're remembering, when we're using our voice, reading voice flattens out your tone. So if you're going to read, you have to inject energy into it. I think the thing about voice is generally it's about speaking as you naturally speak, but a little smoother and a little like not eating your words. So if you meet me in New York City, I actually talk a lot faster than I do now because I know that I'm on a podcast, I'm on a video seminar. I know that people are processing my words. If I'm with like one of my friends from New York, we're like, blah, 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 blah. Like I'm not going to talk like that on this video because it's too fast. So for voice, you really want to make sure you're injecting energy. You want to make sure you're speaking at a pace people can understand. And you want to remember that because video takes out some of your energy, you have to inject that energy back. Use those tips, use the music, use the stretching, use the bodies. But remember, video is going to flatten you. So you need to raise your energy. It does not mean turn into a game show host, but that's what it means to bring energy into your voice.
Love this. This is so good. It's so practical. And I love everything that you're sharing because it's stuff that we can actually take away and just practice. You know, like just go, guys, and read a page out of a book and see what your tone sounds like. And then actually just like say something with your own animation and you'll be able to tell the difference. So, yeah, I'm loving all of this. Are there any final things we need to know?
And I was going to say that about reading is if you like record yourself reading a book, you will hear. I know everyone hits their voice. They don't want to listen back, but you will hear your voice being flattened. So as if you were reading a storybook, you're reading that script and you're making it come alive. You actually have to like see each word. You have to envision the words in it. It is a skill to become a good prompter reader. It is a skill to do voiceover work. I did voiceover work when I was younger. It is an actorly skill. So that is why I think when we're really talking about how to show up, use bullet points and outline instead of a script, until you're great at reading scripts, really use more of a conversational tone because it's going to sound better. It's going to sound more like you. And one thing you said earlier is about like that video voice that you were using for prompter sounded more professional. Professional who though? You want to be the professional version of yourself. You don't want to impersonate someone else who you think is a professional. So remember that how we define professional is the polished, confident version of ourselves, but it's not impersonating that person over there who's a founder. It's you have to make a lot of content. You have to put yourself on a lot of seminars. You have to put yourself on stages to kind of get more in the flow of the most confident, passionate version of you, be the most you there ever was.
I love this. And yeah, I totally agree with you. Like when I say professional, I mean like that, you know, Channel 9 or Channel 7 newsreader who's like standing there and they're like, yeah. And I think I've taken a lot of that on, but I think of it as professional as in they're on a news channel and they're being all serious and all of that sort of stuff. And that just doesn't vibe with me because I don't have that. Like as a human, I am actually quite a animated person in like the way I speak. Also the same as you. I generally talk very fast. But yeah, like it is like that's where I never really resonated with. That's why I can't do scripts and things like that. It's because it does take so much of the life out of me. So I love that you pulled up where I was like, what's professional and what's not. And it is down to being the professional version of you, the most shining version of you. So I literally love this. And there was something else you said that I wanted to ask a question about, and I just can't remember what it was. Oh, it was about practicing something. Oh, I think it's gone now. I'm so sad about that.
Practicing the story. Was it about practicing the story reading voice? Like how to practice your read?
I can't remember. But yeah, I think, what are there any skills that you do think we should be practicing? Like, should we be practicing learning how to read off a teleprompter or something like that? Or do you think these days we can just know our stuff and deliver our stuff? I mean, I suppose obviously we're going to practice a lot if we're getting up for a keynote because we're live. But in a more of a video setting, do you think we should just be practicing our actual be your authentic self as opposed to practicing the skill of learning to read a script like an actor? I think you're going to say the first one.
Yeah, especially in the world of AI where everyone has the same stuff. It's all robotic. It looks good, but it's so much content out there. The more human you can be, that's what's going to have you stand out. If you go on social media and you see all of these posts, you're seeing already all of these posts, it's like the same stuff, kind of recycled, and someone shows up as themselves with knowledge and value. That's more appealing to people. So where you should put in your time and energy is in using artificial intelligence to highlight your human intelligence. So using AI to help you be more efficient, all of that, making more content, but really working on your human skills. Like that's what's actually making us unique in this world is our humanity. So the best thing you can do is practice recording yourself, practice reading if you want to read prompter scripts. Everyone is going to get better. Everyone hates watching themselves back, listening to themselves back. I get it. If you do really want to get better, you will have to do that when you're first starting out. I don't recommend that because it's hard to listen to yourself. But if you really want to get better and you're invested in growing, you have to watch yourself. You have to record yourself. You have to watch yourself. You have to keep practicing. You can do it. Everyone can do it. I think we're in such an amazing era of democratization where everyone has the potential to have a voice, the potential to find opportunities, clients, community, connection online. But you do have to really invest the time and effort to say, how can I be natural? How can I connect with people? How can I be more me online?
That was absolutely my question. Should we be watching back ourselves to practice and learn? So I can't believe you just answered my question without me even asking. So I love that. Thank you. Because yeah, it is that thing. And I think this whole talk has actually been more about getting that confidence to let your true self out on camera. Like to me, that's what this really feels like, is you're just like, have that confidence to be yourself, have that confidence to let your voice be heard, have that confidence to speak about things you're passionate about. So I really feel like that's what we've actually covered today.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. It's been such a great chat. Thank you for having me.
It has been amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up, or where can people find you?
Yeah, great. You can follow me on YouTube. I'm at Kim Rittberg, Rittberg content. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Kim Rittberg. And if you want to grab my free download, I have kimrittberg.com/tips. And that is 10 ways to make better videos to get clients. And again, drop me a hello on social media. I'm very friendly. I would love to hear, what you've learned, what you're going to apply from this.
Yay. Thank you so much for being here.